That's what we're doing during the Easter season. Last week we were talking about the night that Jesus rose from the dead, the evening of that night, and then the next week, following week, where Thomas sees Jesus. And on that time when these disciples are gathering together in fear, behind locked doors, Jesus enters into their midst. He offers them peace. He offers them forgiveness. He takes away their fear, and he gives them his joy. This is what Jesus is doing for these disciples. And so this week, as we kind of continue on into the next chapter of John, what happens and how it happens, you have Peter and Nathaniel and James and John. You have them out there by the Sea of Galilee. After this time where they had been with Jesus, where they had this whole life with Jesus, you remember the whole story with them. It actually starts there at the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus comes up to them and he says, follow me. And then they had been fishing. They drop their nets. They follow him. So now we've come full circle. We're back to the beginning of their story. They're there at the Sea of Galilee. And Peter is looking, I think, for some comfort. I think he's out there at the Sea of Galilee because he wants to be comforted. And he says, pretty simply, I'm going to go fishing. Hey guys, we're here, we're home. We haven't been home in a while. But we've had this whole kind of life, this other life, this kind of extraordinary life where amazing things are happening. And now, what? Now what do we do? So Peter, the rest, they go home, they go fishing. When you go through trauma, one of the things that's important for people is that they come back and you try to establish some kind of a sense of normal again. That you return to what is familiar, you return to what is good. And so this is what Peter's doing there. He says, I will go fishing. I find this a fascinating response to the resurrection of Jesus. Let's go back and go fishing. They didn't know what to do. I mean, what do you do at this point in your life? We go. We end up looking for what is comfortable, what's familiar, because it's good for us. It's good for us. We even do this in our culture. We have a relationship with food that we call comfort food. When things are stressful, when things are just kind of out of whack, we go back. This is what pizza is for me. Thank you for all who bought me pizza after Lent. I appreciate it very much. I got bigger because of it. We have this comfort food. Who snacks? Who eats kind of in a comforting way? We eat chips. We do this. We have this thing, and we have this idea that comfort is good because we like to be comforted. We do this after some physical trauma. We try to get back into some rehab. After some mental trauma, we seek some therapy. We try to get back to what is routine. We try to go back to what's ordinary. And so this is what Peter and the disciples are doing on this day. This day, it doesn't look like a particularly joyful activity at first, now does it? They go out fishing, and for the 3 years that they've been gone, apparently they've gotten really bad at it. They're terrible. They go out, they don't get anything. That's not very comforting. But here they are, living the ordinary life. They're back to where they were. Now, I would like to bring up the synonyms that our culture uses for ordinary. Perhaps you're familiar with these synonyms. When you think of the word ordinary, what do you think of? Boring? Same old, average, kind of fair, dreary, mundane is how office would describe it. Run of the mill. How many people do you know who are content with leading an average life? How many of you are like, I'm going to just be average today? Woo! I can't wait to be average. I love how dreary and depressing my life is. It's just so ordinary. It's great. So we have This idea that this kind of coming to our culture that everything needs to be exciting. I was watching Thomas, the Tank Engine, yesterday with my son, Micah. And the preview for the show was welcome to the island of Sodor, where everything is exciting. It's never boring here in Sodor. And I'm like, really? Never ever? Like they never just sit there and be like, hey guys, how are you? Oh, Percy, how you been? All right, good. Things just kind of going along. All right. It's never that way on the island of Sodor. Apparently, it's a place to live if you're looking for excitement. But we've become conditioned to this idea of excitement, and so we have these lives that are full of drama. Our lives kind of end up mimicking the TV that we have, the culture that we have, this drama that's all over the place, here and there. We have plot twists and backstabbing, and do you believe that she said this? I cannot believe that. We just have this drama that is part of life. So this text from the Gospel of John, it indeed promises to deliver something that is extraordinary. When Jesus shows up in the Bible, when he's in his story, when he becomes kind of center in whatever the story is, whenever God shows up in the Bible, extraordinary things tend to happen. This is about 99% of the time. Extraordinary things are happening when God shows up. So Jesus, he turns over tables, he gets into arguments with the Pharisees, with the religious leaders, he's doing these things. Exciting things are happening with Jesus. Jesus, after the resurrection, he goes through locked doors, through walls. He enters into the disciples' midst. He brings this excitement and this joy into their lives. He does this. This is what Jesus does. And so Jesus, as he goes into the story, he appears and he asks them, do you have any fish? And they don't know what it is, but they say, no, they don't have any. So he tells them how to fish. These people who had spent their lives as fishermen, he tells them how to fish. Now if you think back all the way to the time when this all started, this is actually exactly what he did when he met them. He told them to cast their nets over on that side of the boat. They did. And they got fish. These successful fishermen, back in the story, in the day when they had met him, didn't catch anything either. So now he's having them cast their nets over. They end up getting a bunch of fish. They come bringing it into shore. And you're sitting there with this boatload of fish. And this is a fairly extraordinary thing, isn't it? I mean, for Jesus to just go up and yell out to his disciple, cast your net over there, you're sitting there at least on the edge of something that is extraordinary. At least somewhere out there that this is something that you could say, wow, he just keeps doing it. He keeps doing amazing and wonderful things. But then he does something else. Then they have breakfast. And it was just like, kind of, what is happening? What's happening? And Jesus, he does miracles. He does all of these things. He does this tremendous amount of amazing stuff. He's risen from the dead. He's done pretty amazing things. And there, at the Sea of Galilee, they have breakfast. Who had breakfast? Anybody have breakfast? Anybody planning on having breakfast tomorrow? Anybody perhaps had breakfast yesterday? Jesus is tying his life not into the extraordinary things, not into all these particular miracles, but into something as ordinary as breakfast. This pan is heavy. Oh, Jesus